Hello everyone, welcome to today's session where we're going to look at the poem A Thing of Beauty by John Keats. This poem, A Thing of Beauty, is actually the first stanza of Keats' epic poem Endymion, which was published in 1818. To brief you about the backdrop of this poem, I can say that this poem is based on the Greek myth of Endymion. Endymion is a handsome shepherd who spent much of his life in the constant sleep, and he was dear to Diana, who is the moon goddess. So now let's begin the textual analysis. And as you have come to now know that this poem, A Thing of Beauty, is an excerpt from the poetic romance Endymion, where Keats is expressing his views on beauty and its importance in our life. So I'm reading the text now. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. So it is clear from the very first line, which is very much famous also, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Keats is talking about the immortality of the immortal nature of a thing of beauty, where he is saying that a thing of beauty is a source of perennial joy. It never comes to an end, and its loveliness increases. That attractiveness of a thing of beauty grows. It will never pass into nothingness, and it never fades away. It never declines. Rather, it increases. With the passage of time, it increases, it grows, but still will keep a bower quiet for us and asleep, full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. And here the poet is comparing a thing of beauty to a quiet bower. A bower is a shady place under trees or climbers. So just like a quiet bower which gives us a very soothing shade, and a thing of beauty is also like a sound sleep which is full of sweet dreams and relaxation. And eventually the sound sleep and the shady bower provides us or offer us a robust health and mental peace, a health and quiet breathing. So such is the impact of a thing of beauty, which gives us solace, tranquility and good health. Next, therefore on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. So here poet is talking about the need of the beautiful object, that what significant role beautiful objects or beauty plays in our life. That in simple way, if we take these first two lines, that every morning we collect the fresh flowers and make garlands from it, and we do it because it is our fascination towards the beautiful objects like flowers, which binds us, this fascination for the beauty, for the earthly beauty, which binds us to the earth. Otherwise we would be hopeless in the absence of beauty. So the poet further elaborates this concept of connection, which connection due to the presence of beauty which compels us to live on this earth, because this earth is full of despondence, dejection, despair, disappointments. And in spite of the presence of despondence, in spite of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, and earth means scarcity, in spite of the acute shortage of the noble souls, and in spite of the gloomy days, in spite of the tragic days which are full of suffering and sadness, and in spite of the unhealthy and over darkened ways, in spite of the presence of unhealthy human tendencies which creates very grim and dark life, in spite of the presence of all these trials and tribulations which take or which overtake us to test our forbearance, we still choose to live on this earth due to the presence of beauty. In other words, this uh, the beautiful objects of nature or earth are just like flowery band which binds us to earth and thus make the life worth living. Next, made for our searching, yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So, in spite of all these tragic sufferings and difficulties, we choose to live because we know anywhere and we have experienced it that just a sight of beauty, some shape of beauty, that a sight of beauty has the capability to dispel the pall. Pall means cover or shield. It has the, a sight of beauty has the capability to dispel the cover of negative vibes, cover from our dark spirits, cover of negative vibes and our sorrows. So such is the power of beauty which we usually experience or find in our surroundings, which can remove the dark cover, dark cloud of our all our disappointments and sufferings, and thus it the a sight of beauty can make room for hope and optimism. Next lines: such the sun, the moon, trees, old and young, sprouting a shady boon. So here the poet is informing us about the beautiful objects present in our surroundings and which we should cherish and admire. So the heavenly bodies like the sun, the moon, and the trees, old and young trees, which offers sprouting, which grows and offers a shady boon, a blissful shade to our souls and to our body, for simple sheep, and especially for simple sheep. Here this expression simple sheep is for human beings. So Keats is indicating towards those innocent human beings who seek solace, relief, consolation in the lap of Mother Nature, old and young trees, sun, moon, and in the blissful shade of the trees. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in. So here now the poet is adding in his list some more objects of nature or some more objects of beauty. So like daffodils, when they bloom, then what happen? They fill the whole landscape and thus they enhance the liveliness and greenery of the world. So such is the scenic beauty of the appearance of daffodils and clear rills that for themselves a cooling cover make against the hot season, and the flow of those clear streams which flow these streams flow through the shady passage, and this shady passage is created by themselves for themselves. They have created it for themselves. How they have created it for themselves? Because these streams have nourished the plants which came during their passage, and in this way they helped in the growth of the plants, and a very shady passage have been created now by their nourishment. And these plants, they have saved these plants against the hot season, against the summer season, or against the heat of the summer season. So such is the awe and wonder of the nature, that these clear rills which are passing through a shady passage which they have made for themselves, the mid forest brake rich with the sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. And here poet is creating an imagery of the mid forest, inside the forest, which where we can witness brake means a thicket, a dense shrub or bush. So in these dense shrub or bushes are usually we can find inside the forest. They are full of fragrance. They are full of very powerful fragrance, and these fragrance comes from musk rose, wild flowers, which makes these thickets, these shrubs and bushes full of uh, beautiful fragrance. And in this way, kids have created this beautiful scenery of forest, and in especially the inside of the forest. And by presenting the scenery, what kids wants to do here is that these simple and even commonplace sights make the human spirit lift by filling it with eternal joy and delight. So here he is talking about the impact of these simple and commonplace things present around us, where we can find beauty and thus make this life uh, worth living and beautiful. Next, we have imagined for the mighty dead all lovely tales that we have heard or read. So now, in addition to the beautiful objects of nature, the poet is uh, talking, or the poet is adding the legendary tales or the heroic tales of our legendary heroes who have died for some noble cause. And such is the power of their tales that whenever we hear or read them, no matter how many times we have heard or read them, every time we can create or we are able to derive the same sort of or the same amount of pleasure, which seems like perpetual, the perpetual joy and delight we can feel every time we hear or read those tales of mighty dead, of our legendary heroes who lived and died heroically. Next, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heavens brink. So the poet is now here representing metaphorically these beautiful objects as an endless fountain, that these all the beautiful objects are just like never ending fountain, never ending source of nectar or elixir of life, immortal drink, nectar or elixir of life, which are pouring unto us, or pouring upon us, or which are bestowed upon us from the heaven itself, which seems to come direct from the heaven. In other words, this never ending fountain or this never ending delight and joy present in the beautiful objects of earth are a precious gift, or it is a precious gift from heaven to humanity. So this was the poem A Thing of Beauty by John Keats, where he seems to suggest that beauty uh, present around us make life worth living. And if we see the structure or composition of this poem, then this poem is exclusively composed in iambic pentameter, and the rhyme scheme is AABB. As you can see, the lines displayed on the screen, dead, red, are rhyming with each other. Then we can name them AA, and then the third and fourth line, drink, brink, we can give them the next letters BB. So and this pattern goes on in every in throughout the poem or in the whole poem. So we can say that the rhyme scheme is AABB, and the poem is written in heroic couplets, in iambic pentameter, and in pairs. And if we see the figure of speech, then there is metaphor in these two lines, where in the first one, a bower quiet for us, where a calming effect of bower is compared to the calming impact of a thing of beauty. And in the next line, a thing of beauty or the objects of beauty is compared to an endless fountain of immortal drink. And then there is alliteration employed in this poem in many lines, and I encourage you to find out or identify those lines where this technical device has been used, So that's all for today. I look forward to see you in the next session. Thank you for now.